Okay, so welcome, Chris. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Pleasure to finally meet you.
Yeah, we've been talking lots lately too. I feel like I'm getting to know all these DJs before I even get to start asking them questions, just because there's such a whole rigmarole I got to go through to get this to all
No,
happen,
it's
right?
good though.
Yeah, so I guess I might as well get right into this. I was looking at some of your SoundCloud, and I noticed this kind of evolution through some of your styles. Like you start like years ago. It was 6 years back. I've seen
Yeah,
that.
it's been a long time now. I haven't put anything up for a while.
Yeah.
It's been bad.
But you've been posting a lot of other people's stuff, and it seems like you're kind of staying true to heart to what you originally were doing back then, anyway.
Yeah, well, I run a couple of different nights now, so I get a bunch of different kind of music depending on the night. Like
Okay.
weekend, it's usually more top 40 and
Yeah.
like electro, higher energy kind of music. But then on Wednesdays, I do a funk and lounge set.
Okay.
So I still have to go get a whole bunch of like chill, more laid back music for that kind of thing because people aren't really dancing. It's just a lounge. People are hanging out, drinking wine and stuff.
Okay. So is this are you exclusively working at Worst? Is that
Right
how
now,
it's
I am.
pronounced?
Yeah, worst.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's a German beer hall. I've been there for 5 years now.
Is that kind of where the origin of DJ Stein comes from? The name?
No, actually, that was purely coincidental. I had the name a long time ago, probably when I was about 18. My friends gave it to me. We were living a bunch of guys, 18, all working at the
Yeah.
bar. And I was just the one that happened to be most like technologically savvy.
Okay.
So if like the internet would go out or if a computer would break down, they'd say Einstein fix it.
Oh, okay.
And then it got shortened to Stein, and then it
okay.
just became DJ Stein. And it was purely coincidental that I started working at a German beer hall.
Yeah,
And I told them that I DJ'd. I actually started there as a food runner.
Oh,
So I was
really?
just doing regular waiting kind of staff stuff, and then I pushed myself into DJing there.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, my mom's a professional caterer. I grew up cooking and working in restaurants and
Yeah.
stuff like that for the longest period of my life. So
Goes hand in hand with the DJ scene.
I guess it does. Not so much on my end. Well, when I got out of it and I started going to college, and then I was going to the clubs, and I was working in a restaurant all night. That was basically my outlet, was getting somewhere where it was, I don't know, just
Yeah. After hours too, right? You're working late at a restaurant, and then you're like, all right, let's go get fucking wasted.
Well, I was one of the Red Deer ravers back in the day, is what they called us, right? Like they're like, you do that like full body liquid, like it's not like any other liquid I've seen before.
That's
you
why-
know?
yeah.
But yeah. So it was one of the best compliments I got given back. At least what I felt like it was back.
Oh yeah, whatever, right? That's all.
Right?
That's all. It should be all that you feel anyway.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what they think.
But like I say, what I was looking at some of the stuff that you did have up on your SoundCloud, and it's like got a lot of this really disco funk vibe
Yeah.
to it. Is that something like? Would you say that goes back to your roots? Is that where you come from?
For
Is that your real?
Sure. I mean, I love funky guitar riffs. That probably came from my dad because he played a lot of guitar when I was younger. He was like,
Okay.
he played guitar in rock bands, like small cover bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I was young, so that's probably where that came from. But like I came all over for music wise. When I was about 14, I kind of got into trance music,
Okay.
and like that was my first dabble in electronic music, really.
I think that was for a lot of us.
Well,
really,
it was
though, right?
huge back then. Like it was 2001, 2002. Well, through 2 to 4, I guess. I was 14, so 2004. So like Tiesto was killing it, and like that was just the main type of electronic music that was around. But I went through like small phase of hard style, and then as I got older and more into house music, but it all stayed kind of funky throughout.
Yeah, I really enjoyed listening to some of the things that you were putting up for like some of these other artists. I'm trying to remember here. There was a specific name that seemed to be a really big influence of yours. Now I got to go.
Most of the ones that get reposted to my SoundCloud, they just get reposted because I downloaded it for a gig.
Oh, okay.
So it's just because they all have their algorithms on their songs that you have to like give them, you have to like and reshare, or it automatically likes and reshares. When it comes to social media sites, I try to stay away from it as much as possible. It just takes up so much time for me. Like when you're to sit in front of a computer, like when I'm searching for tracks, it's great. So that's why when it automatically retweets things or whatever you want to call it, reshare, I guess.
Yeah.
It's great. But I just don't want to put hours and hours and hours and time into, you know, putting somebody else's music up on my SoundCloud.
No, absolutely.
So that's like, I try, even Facebook, I actually deleted Facebook from my phone the other day because I'm just like,
did you?
Yeah. I mean, I still have the
much.
account. I would have to go log onto a computer, and I never do that. So it's great because it cuts out all that useless scrolling. You're like, why am I here? Why am I fucking scrolling this feed? Because everybody does it, right? It's an addiction. It's terrible.
Yeah.
So I just decided to just get rid of the app and see how it goes.
And there's a lot of people going that way with it now, though, honestly. Like, there's even things on your iPhone now, you know, like it monitors your screen time or your iPad or whatever the case might be. And I think that that's good because, well, it's tough as a producer. Like, I see you sitting in the studio, so obviously you're trying to produce some of your own stuff. I had a tough time. I didn't find stuff that you actually have released.
I haven't put stuff out in a really long. I actually brought a little sample. I can play that for. Yeah, there's something I was working on just earlier. It's like a 16 bar sample. We can throw on. Sure,
yeah, you're welcome to put anything out there.
I mean, I threw it on my phone before I came. I didn't know if we wanted to do anything like that. I just figured.
Well, like I say, so Chaotic Encounters is the other part of the show. So if you're mixing stuff that if you want to be a part of that as well, like I'm putting out this show and the sister podcast, right? So people are going to be able to get the artist and the music the artist makes, right? It's not just one or the other, right? So anyway,
for that kind of stuff, I'm absolutely down to throw my I was staying away from Facebook because I just don't care about doing that marketing thing of myself. Like, I thought about it. I'm like, oh, you know, you watch a bunch of Gary Vee, and you're like, oh, everybody has to do it. You can go make your millions on Instagram. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to do that. I don't want to spend time on that. I'm happy when I'm in the studio creating music.
Yes.
So I just want to create the music. I'll give it to somebody else. They can promote it for me, right? Yeah. I'll pay them and whatever. That's sweet. I know some artists really like the promotion stuff, and that's great, right? Some people like it, some people don't.
It's growing on me. Like this is technically the fourth one I've come out for. I don't know what order they're going to get released in, honestly. I'm going to try and make it so that everything isn't going to be exactly the same sort of format and stuff. As I was telling you today, like I kind of want to reformat this interview a little bit because I felt that some of them were kind of turning into the same thing. So once I have enough together that are, you know, diverse enough from each other, then, you know, I think I'll start putting them out in groups. And
definitely.
So on
and you'll just get a better feel of like how to keep things a little bit different. You'll notice like somebody's personality, and you'll be able to play off that. Just experience, right?
Yeah.
Same as anything.
Yeah, and you know, I get to see what the audience is gonna like too, right? Like,
definitely.
I do like being in front of the camera. I do like, you know, I like getting stuff like this and working towards a final goal. But you know, ultimately, I'd love to release my own music. And as I've said in some of the YouTube things, like I want to go to the source. I want to go to people that have been doing this for a long time. I've just started producing, so I figure, who am I going to learn better from? I'm not going to, you know.
Yeah, I've been thinking that lately too. It's hard. It's tough. It's tough to find people who are super serious about it. In my case, anyway, I stick to my normal. I go to work. I go to my studio. So I'm probably not trying that hard. But no, it's tough to find somebody who's really actually dedicated to it, because there's so many people that say they're making music or want to make music, but then they don't, like, you don't. I mean, I've been guilty of it too. You think you know how to make music, but then you try to make music and you realize it's way fucking harder than it looks. You're like, oh yeah, okay, simple bass line. Plus music evolves, right? It's constantly evolving. So now we have stuff like trap music and stuff like that. It's more diverse than the 128 techno that was bumping around in 2008.
Well, it's funny, actually. Well, I know what you mean by it. Because I actually I had the conversation with another guy. I'm like, when people say techno to me,
techno, right? It's like,
I know.
I use it so people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I get you though.
Yeah, it's tough. And you're talking to people who don't understand all the ridiculous number of genres there are in electronic music. You're talking to the regular layman. You're like, techno. They're like, oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. It's, well, especially anybody you get into that's over 40 a lot of the time. You know, you say, well, I listen to a little bit of, I don't know, some trap and some drum and bass and some jungle, and even though they're in the same,
they can be,
But the thing is, you know, like it's people they're not gonna know the difference between it. It's like, is it the stuff that goes
right? Exactly.
Right? You know. Yeah. So yeah, okay. Anyway, so as far as it goes, like when you are in the studio, are you working on remixes and edits and stuff like that?
I don't do a lot of remixes and edits myself. I probably could. like I'd probably be strong enough to bang out a bunch of remixes and edits. They just they don't feel as satisfying to me. I really want to come up with those really catchy riffs, right?
Okay.
That's what really interests me, going into the back, like actually learning the music theory behind it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just pulling a sample from something is great. You can get amazing results from that. There's actually a whole bunch of TV shows or internet TV shows that I'm seeing now where they get DJs in to remix songs. They all remix the same sample and then they see what comes out at the end, right?
Okay.
I think A-Skills was on one of them.
Oh,
or, sorry,
excellent.
A-Tracks.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I'm not familiar with it, but
Yeah,
A-Tracks.
A-Tracks, and I'm pretty sure I saw that T-Pain was like announcing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
it was a pretty produced event.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed that like you're getting into like when some of the club stuff that you were showing from a couple years back and things, you know, like you're playing some pretty hard like hip hop stuff. And,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
but it's the top 40 thing.
Yeah,
that's
well, I
out
gotta
there these days.
I gotta
right?
keep the
So-
bar busy, right? Like that's
Exactly.
how I've kept my job for so long, is because they know that they can trust me to come in and play music that will keep people buying drinks in their bar.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go far. Like a lot of the time, I'm not playing what I really love. I'm playing what the crowd wants to hear. Because it's a 220 capacity basement, and then there's an upstairs as well.
Okay.
So in order to fill that with a whole bunch of people, you kind of have to, quote unquote, sell out a little bit. But whatever, right?
That's not
if you're making
selling out,
people
though.
dance, you're not
You know,
selling out.
Honestly, I feel good. I'm not a huge top 40. Like I like top 40 music, but I don't like being the top 40 DJ. But as you say, like that's the job sometimes,
Exactly,
right?
right.
Like I've done bars, or I've done weddings, I've done, you know, like, and weddings can be the worst
Oh
sometimes,
yeah,
'cause
oh
it's just
yeah.
like-
It's such a ridiculous, diverse amount of people. They all want something different.
Well, and there's a playlist to some extent that you have
Yeah.
to play for them, right? Sometimes, right? Or if you're looking at like one of the guys I had on, he did some radio. So like you're
that's tough.
restricted with what you can put on to an extent anyway. Depends on what kind of free reign
Especially on the radio,
station's giving
right?
you,
Yeah,
right?
even I heard CKU, or I think it was CKUA. Oh no, sorry, it was a smaller radio station. Did you talk to Joe Swell?
No, it was actually a guy from Fort McMurray that
Oh,
I've been
okay.
speaking
Yeah.
with,
Joe Swell he did some stuff on the radio, and he was telling me that they have restrictions where you can't play 2 remixes in a row, stuff like that.
Oh,
You
geez,
have to
yeah, it
actually
gets-
play regular original
Okay.
mixes, and he said it was really tough.
He had pretty free reign, but you know, you just got to be careful about, like, you know, you get some explicit lyrics or something like that. Obviously, you got
Yeah.
to be going through your set a little bit before. He was doing a lot of remixes prior to, though. Like, so are you doing stuff like that? Are you doing like mashups and things, or is that all on the fly when you're in the club?
I do need to get more into that, because I've noticed it's getting difficult to transition through tempos. So I need to go from like a 70 BPM trap song into a 128 dance song fairly quickly.
yeah.
If you start to lose the crowd, you got to switch it up fairly quickly and do it clean. So I got to work on that. So that's something I'll probably start building more transitional mixes. But no, I do like to do that kind of stuff live, but that's super tough going up that many BPM.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people don't realize like the quality that some of us can produce if you're looking at, you go from like a drum and bass to an electro house track.
Right. Yeah,
You
you're
know,
totally
like-
switching up the drums. So that's weird to do smoothly.
Yes. But, you know, it can be done. And
Oh, yeah.
I think, obviously, you just got to, a lot of the time, like you say, it's finding those right songs and knowing, you know, or even just finding that right 16 beats or just that part of the phrase that's going to work to, you know, drop your next beat on,
Yeah.
right?
Or you could cheat and just cold drop it into a break or something.
Or you can
get
the old
away with
backspin trick or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
totally. There's
You
tricks,
know,
but
there's
it's just constantly learning, and that's something I've kind of been lacking on in the DJ world right now, because I've been so focused on producing. My DJ skills haven't been improving as much as they could be.
That's kind of one of the nice things about approaching this, is because like this is a tripod. Like I'm looking at, you know, doing the YouTube channel, I'm looking at doing the dance music channel, and I'm looking at trying to produce my own music at the same
That's
time.
a lot.
So they're all up in the air, but they all stand on each other, right? And they all you know, support each other. So
They definitely feed into each other. You'll learn something from one, and you'll be able to carry it to all of them for sure.
Exactly. And I keep on saying that, you know, with this all being recorded, any of the resources and stuff, like, you know, I hope people are listening close to just different websites that people are giving, and different, you know, different DAWs and different, you know, audio effects and things that, you know, different guys are using based on the style of music, because it's all relative, right? So, and you know, if you can take something, if I can take, like, I haven't listened to a lot of funk, honestly. I haven't listened to a lot of disco, but it's definitely has its appeals to me, and it's definitely something that I can draw from, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I noticed that some of the stuff you were playing when you were in the studio sounded very aggressive though, and very bass heavy.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So
that's the stuff that I like to produce is really like more dubstep and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, this one that I brought with me is I guess it would be a D&B.
Okay.
It's 83 BPM, but like double, so
166,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the stuff it seems to come out of me the easiest. That and electro, like 128, 130 kind of stuff. But that can get kind of repetitive, and it's hard to really make it super tasteful when you're working with a gridded beat like that. So that's something that I would like to get stronger at. But yeah, no, I do focus on heavy bass music kind of stuff for that. It's just something you can't really play at a top 40 nightclub as often. You can sneak them in every once in a while. But
can you be the person that explains to me how people mix 140 with 110 then, or is it just that it's missing a beat?
Well, that as far as I understand, that's triplets. You take a triplet 150-ish or something like that. I think it's 150 triplet is 110.
Okay.
Ballpark. You run into that problem with or my software does. I run Tractor DJ.
Okay,
and when you take the song In the Club by 50 Cent, it reads it as 112, but it's a 90 BPM beat, but there's just some kind of triplet ops in it that just fuck up the algorithm.
So it's just reading. It is 140. It's just reading it.
There's some tricks to it. There's a Slink video. I don't know if you've heard of Slink.
Actually, it's funny. I was talking with a guy yesterday about Slink.
Yeah, his tutorial videos are amazing. Yeah. There's a remix video that he does where he takes 70. I can't remember if 70 or 75. So 140 or 150, and he chops it up in Ableton with one of their algorithms.
Pull it back from you a little bit.
Talking too much.
You're not talking too much. You have a big voice. I keep bringing it down, and I don't want to end up cutting you off too much. Right? It's all good. No, man. It's good.
Yeah, and in the video, he cuts it up with a warp algorithm and chops up the beat into a 140 or 150, whatever the BPM was, track. It takes 140 to 110.
Oh, okay.
So and then he puts his 110 drum track over top of it, and it all lines up.
Oh, really?
I'm not the best of explaining it. I don't have the full comprehension of it yet.
Well, the thing is, like, when I mix dubstep, I stick with 140. I try not to get away from
10 BPM or something.
Well, and that's what I mean, right? So I don't try to get into like mixing the 110 with the 140. Well, I haven't played with it enough, honestly, to call myself good at it. So I don't really mess around with it. I've always been kind of a house DJ, and I like my drum and bass, and I like breaks and stuff like that. Those are really my go-tos. Trance, as you were saying, sure, it was what I grew up on. So I'm trying to diversify my palette, and honestly, with the dubstep and the trap and stuff that's coming out these days, like it's turning into almost the most prevalent music you're hearing out there these days.
Yeah, it's
right?
weird because dubstep kind of died and then came back again.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's a weird genre, but it is getting like with trap music, because trap music got really into the top 40 limelight with hip hop and stuff like that. So that became super popular, which I definitely did not see coming. It's weird.
Yeah. So as far as it goes, when you're in the studio, are you a hardware guy, or are you mostly sticking with the software?
Well, I mean, I'd love to be a hardware guy, but I don't make that much money.
Yeah. It seems like there's a lot of starving DJs out there.
Yeah.
Well, not
but
starving.
You know what? Well,
I mean.
No, but it is really. I mean, but it's the beauty of it is that you can do it all, or not all of it, but you can do most of it as software.
Yeah.
Right? Like Serum is amazing. You won't get that analog, like fully analog feel out of it, but you can replicate it with other distortion plugins or something. So you can get great sounds out of just a laptop.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. And I mean, every producer who's out there now should be happy about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you spend $1,200 and you can be a producer.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like you're a Serum fanatic. I seen you with five cases of it on the one instances. So do you create all of your sounds when you're making
Yes,
stuff?
I try to. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's always been my goal. Like that's why I could have went down that sampling route. But I just preferred to, keep plugging away because you'll get it eventually. It's just more to learn.
Yeah.
And honestly, everything that I have learned has really all been off of YouTube.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of guys saying that. I was fortunate, you know, I had a few extra bucks and I was able to invest into Warp Academy. It's this online Ableton course. And,
those are great.
And they had a serum thing that, you know, it basically they just went and found everything for you and they put it all into one place. So, you know, it was a good walk through step by step. And, you know, I spent, you know, probably 100 hours or something just doing, you know, everything. And even at that point, you know, that's without a lot of practical. That's just going through the theory behind everything, right? So I definitely have an appreciation for people that, you know, especially go down that YouTube rabbit hole, because you can go, if you find, like you say, Slink, for example, you know, I'm sure you can find a plethora of tutorials from one person, but a lot of the time you find like, you'll go like down this road, three videos, and then you go down another road, 3 videos, you've watched the same thing 2 times.
Which is also not a bad thing. What I do is I'll watch a video and kind of like skim it the first time and then go into my DAW and play around with it a little bit and then go back and watch it again and just force myself to watch it 2 or 3 times. Okay. And then by the end of the day, I have that concept hammered down.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like I know, like even my son, he's 7, and just for his spelling, you know, it's like you just got to do it 10 times over, and then he's got it, you know, right? Like he might come out with 6 out of 10 the first time, but he's got 10 out of 10 by the end of the day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Same sort of thing.
If you've ever seen Jordan Peterson, he says, "Do it badly. Just do it badly, and then figure out where you're bad at it, and just focus on those little things and get better incrementally. Yeah. And then within a week, you've got a concept. If you tackle it hard enough."
So you don't go into any loops. You don't go like buy pre-made audio loops of any kind.
But I find it's a waste of money.
Do you?
Yeah, for like I've got a couple Loop Masters packs, but honestly, the thing that I've got the most bang for my buck out of is the Native Instruments complete pack.
Okay.
Because their drum samples, it's just huge. You literally have everything you need, and then you can edit it to your taste.
They have such a massive. They're the one I was looking at, like their ultimate library or something.
It's like worth the money,
multi-thousands of dollars.
It's only I think it's only $1,500 or $2,000, but it's like $10,000 worth of product if you were to buy it.
Oh yeah,
each one. Okay. So I just spent the money on it, and it
comes with a hard drive. You can get it with a hard drive too.
I would suggest it. I tried to. They gave me the download link, and I was having trouble downloading it, so I had to call them and get them to send me a hard drive. But then I had to pay for the customs on the hard drive, so it was like an extra $200. But
oh wow,
yeah, it was shitty. But at least I've got the hard drive now, and I've got all the software. So and other than that, they're great. They'll their support's pretty good. It took a while to get them on the phone, but once I did, it all worked out.
I kind of want to take back something I said the other day. I was talking about like upgrading to Tractor 3, and I was thinking, I'm like, geez, $100 and some bucks or whatever, and I'm like, oh no, it's actually to upgrade from if you have 2 or whatever, it's only $69 or something like that. So it's not too bad, but. I don't know. Have you upgraded?
No, not yet. I saw some reviews that said it's not really worth it, and if Tractor 2 is working for you, just don't fix what isn't broken, right?
That was kind of my thing. Even the updates for Tractor, I was lenient about trying to hesitant rather is the word I'm looking for, about trying to do that in the first place, just because I'd had trouble when I'd updated before, it ended up like not finding files, and but Tractor I think's kind of had a bit of that. Have you ever run into that issue where you can't find your files or whatever?
I understand. It has problems reading external hard drives.
Yes.
Yeah, and that I had, but I don't know. I always try to keep everything on my hard drive anyway, just because I feel when you start adding, I could be wrong, but when you start adding external hard drives, it just slows it down a little bit.
So are you dealing with the desktop? You're dealing with a desktop for everything.
No, actually I have all laptops. I'm a laptop whore. It's probably not the best. It's not the best idea for producing, but I love the fact that I can just unplug my laptop and take it anywhere. I've got monitors and everything that I can plug into. Yeah. And like at a desk in a workspace. But
my problem was that this thing, I think it has maybe a terabyte. I don't even think. I think like maybe 500 gigabytes is as big as the hard drive was.
You have to have a terabyte basically.
And that's the thing, right? And even like my external hard drive, some of the audio files that I start getting into, like, well, like I know my one external hard drive has 2.5 terabytes of data on it right now.
Oh yeah,
you know?
easy.
So and that's nothing to say for an audio file, right?
Oh, you're lucky you're not pumping video through it.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm gonna be putting video onto it.
Yeah.
You know, it's my backup for everything, right? But still, I don't know. It's tough to figure out where you should invest your funds, and like you say, if you get into an external hard drive and it's slowing everything down, yeah, it sucks. But I find that if my hard drive on here is completely maxed to the top, like I'm
you can't. You're supposed to have 30 gigs free no matter what, right?
Exactly.
Just so the OS can run. But it could be, it's probably a solid state because it's a smaller laptop, right? Because that'll make a difference too. If you've got the regular disk hard drives versus a solid state one, those solid state ones are almost twice as fast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The upload download speed of them is quite quicker because there's no physical moving parts. It's just flash memory, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So a little bit more expensive, but definitely worth it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, like I say, I'm not going to claim to be a computer genius by any means, but it's funny, like a lot of guys that are into this, like you got to be a bit of a nerd to some extent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I mean, that's where I got the nickname Einstein from. I was just the biggest nerd of the group. So
were you a gamer or anything like that?
Used to be, not so much anymore, just because it takes up so much time.
Right.
But yeah, when I was younger, fuck yeah, lots of computer games and stuff like that. But then you start to prioritize your life, and you're like, I can't sit around and play video games all day as much as I would love to.
That was my big thing for a while there. I looked at the hours that I'd put in on this one game, and I'm like, I put in 40 hours on this game.
Oh yeah,
this week.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, and it's so much fun. But it's like,
I'm like,
what did you get out of it?
How much time did I spend in the studio this week? Like, I probably spent that amount of time in the studio too, but it's like that could have been double.
Yeah.
Right?
Although you do get burnt out from ideas, and it's nice to have, like, me and my brother, because I produce with my brother a lot too.
Okay.
And we'll have downtimes where we'll like play GTA for an hour just to clear our brains and then
that's
go back to it.
Yeah.
Because you get stuck in a loop, and you're hearing the same loop, and your ears aren't even really picking up what's actually changing because it's so used to hearing it that it's basically your brain playing it back for you more than you're even actually listening to it.
Sometimes even a day away from a song. Like I usually got, I got, half a dozen songs on the go at a time, and then I'll just go, I'm not even going to touch this one for a day or two. Yeah. And I'll come back to it. And like you say, you got those fresh ears, and it just gives you a whole different perspective.
Oh yeah.
On
You'll
right?
immediately like pick out a sub bass that's too loud or something like that. And you as soon as you go in, you're like, oh, that's too loud, and you'll fix it. But your ears just can't pick that up when you've been listening to it for too long.
Yeah, for sure. I guess I was going to ask you about JR Dynamite's. That was one of the things that I kept on seeing there. That was the one that I was talking about before.
He's just got really good edits. I like to use his stuff for my Wednesday sets. Like all that stuff on SoundCloud, it's literally just songs that I've downloaded. I'm like, oh, this sounds good for one of my sets. I'll download it, throw it in the folder, and then when I'm live, I'm usually like picking by BPM or key, and then just kind of putting together something as freestyle as possible. Obviously, you remember mixes that you've done before, like you hear a track and it just, it'll mix well with that track. So you can do stuff like that, but it's really just loading up my set folders.
Yeah, I see you posting a lot of like fun moments from the clubs. Would you say that that's like your most comfortable place to be behind the decks, or do you play anywhere else besides clubs?
Well, I'm doing an event for MRU on Thursday.
Oh, okay. So what's MRU?
Mount Royal University.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I did a volleyball game there a couple weeks ago now.
Okay.
So they just bring me in for random events like that, sporting events like that. Just super simple stuff. You play some music during the timeouts and stuff like that, and in between for warm-ups and stuff like that. So it's a cool little extra gig. But no, I like to be in the booth for sure at a bar. That's definitely where you find your moments where everything just turns off and you're in the focus. Like actually last Saturday I've started to play a little bit more electro at Worst. So there was an hour where I just like completely shut off and was just playing tunes. I barely was even like I wasn't really looking at the room. It was more of a feeling of the room. Everything was going great. Apparently door guys were coming up and were like, yo, keep playing this. So yeah, right, but you just zone out. You wake up, I looked up at the clock and it was 12:30 and I just didn't even notice. But those are the moments you kind of look for.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny actually. I was gonna say, like, is there like any particular moment that, really stands out to you? Like, have you ever had somebody come up to you and just say something that stands out to you to this day?
All the time. What do you mean, good or bad?
How about a little of each? What do we got here? Tell me a story.
I get all sorts of stuff. It's bad. I've tried to get better at like dealing with those kind of situations because it's just as bad as like a comedian getting heckled or something like that. It's very similar. I mean, it happens almost every weekend, right? Someone will have something to either complain about, or I mean, they'll really love it, right? Yeah. You'll get both in a night. So it's like, how do you even judge? You can't make everybody happy. But just a couple of weeks ago, one of the staff requested a song, so I was trying to build into that tempo, and I played R. Kelly's remix to Ignition.
Jesus.
And of course, there was a group that got super pissed off at me. I'm like, come on, it's just a song. Like, chill out. So there's stuff like that. But yeah, I try to avoid that. Even that song, I used to get a lot of trouble for playing "Let's Get Retarded" by Black Eyed Peas, and I'm like, "Come on, guys, chill out."
I keep on saying,
I keep playing that one. I won't stop playing that one.
I gotta take that out of my vernacular. I know it's politically incorrect, but I don't know. I've said it.
Worst.
I don't know. I'm terrible for it too. I can't deny. Like, it has definitely.
But
come
I've got
out of
no
my mouth.
beef. It's not that I hate.
No, I have nothing against handicapped person.
Yeah, exactly.
I heard Joe Rogan said it best. Actually, he said it actually means that you're slow of learning. It's a disability. Well, and that's kind of retarding. Like there's actually breaks. There's retarder breaks, right? Like it's
yeah. It's just, I mean, social justice warriors like to destroy our words and destroy R. Kelly's songs. No, R. Kelly did that.
R. Kelly definitely did that to himself.
Yeah. But it's almost like the Michael Jackson debate. I hate to kind of get into this debate, but I guess
it's all good. You can go wherever you want with this.
I've been seeing all sorts of stuff. Like, I think it was Brennan Schaub that posted it.
Okay.
Facts don't lie, but people do, right? Like, and there was a whole investigation into MJ years ago, and the FBI came up with nothing. And then all of a sudden, this guy, his life kind of took a downturn, and he lost all his money. And now he wrote a book about how he's retracting his statement that he gave to the FBI, more or less. That's like trying to say it as clean as possible.
Yeah.
So it's, but everybody just believes this documentary because somebody put a documentary on Netflix. Now that's fact. Doesn't matter what anybody else said. That's now the fact. And that's where I'm like, I don't know what happened. So and to me, Michael Jackson's music is good. And you know what? Quincy Jones had a huge part in making that music good. So is it really all Michael Jackson music, or did he just have a part in it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm speculating. But it's like, are we really going to get mad at the guy's music? I mean, he's already dead.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you can't change anything that happened in the past at
this
point. I don't know. I had my opinions on it. I wasn't well enough informed on it to really, like you say, you don't. Nobody knows. We weren't there, right? And like, you hear some of the people that knew him best, and they say that he was just he was a legitimate lover of children. He loved.
He was a weird dude.
He was a weird dude. Don't get me wrong.
Exactly.
But at the same time, like, who knows? Something like that happens in your life that's that controversial, and the way that he was treated as a child, and there's a lot of things that go to mess a person up to.
Yeah, if anything, we should all be learning from this huge thing, like looking at it and being like, "Holy shit, let's not do that."
Yeah. No,
right. Instead of just, saying, "Oh, you can't play his music now." Maybe let's be adults about it and say, "Yeah, maybe he did some fucked up shit, so let's just not do that."
Yeah. No, I hear you. Absolutely. Okay, let's wander away from that.
Back into the real music stuff. Yeah.
I seen you scratching a little bit in one of the videos that you were doing. Is that a regular thing for you, or are you?
Yeah, that's why I use vinyls, because I was always into scratching. It's DJing's really been on the back burner for the last couple of years because I've been focusing on producing in my downtime. So I mean, I DJ like I'm doing 3-4 hour sets a week. So I'm DJing, and honestly, like, my scratching has gotten better just playing shows and just doing it live and just getting better like that. But I do need to learn some more rhythms. It's just putting in the grunt practice work of getting the muscle memory into it. But that's why that was one of my main things was getting into DJing a long time ago. I always wanted to play loops. Like, I'd listen to Beardy Man or James Zabila.
Okay.
Doing like having 4 CDJs and just playing different loops on each DJ and manipulating it live. That was always super cool to me. That's why I got into Tractor DJ, because they had all the tools for that kind of stuff.
Well, honestly, and that's just it. Like I didn't ever utilize that aspect of Tractor. However, I started using the link system between Ableton and Tractor that they have, and using Session View. Sorry.
Session View.
Session View, and just being able to throw loops in and basically remix on the fly is what it is.
Exactly.
Really,
and that was always my goal that wanted to do, but it's still, there's so much to learn to get there.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to make the parts that you want to remix with it. Like I want to make my drum tracks to play live.
Yeah.
And then, do that. But then you got to learn how to make drum tracks, and then you learn how to mix those drum tracks so they sound good on a system.
If you're making them from scratch, that's for sure. That's for sure a big thing to take on. Like I say, I'm taking a lot of loops from, I use Loop Masters. I utilize them quite a bit. There's a few other ones that I've gone through over the years, but I find that I can build a drum pack out of whatever they have, and then I can just use different elements of that drum pack, and I can get my drum line down, or I can start with my bass, or vice versa, or whatever the case is, right? And then if I want to drop things out, you got 4 sliders. I have an APC 40. It's an
cool.
Akai. So it's nice. You got channel faders for 8 bands already, right? So I can just drop out 2 or 3 of them at a time, and then all of a sudden I can throw in a nice chorus or whatever.
Yeah, that's super cool. I haven't played with that yet. I wanted to get into it, but I've never actually sat down and linked up the computers yet.
Yeah.
It's something that's on my mind though, because I want to put synths in. I want to load up have a keyboard playing with Tractor. That's what me and my brother are working on. So one of us can DJ. He's a drummer as well.
Oh, right
so
on.
Drum DJ and have a keyboard there as well.
So he's a live drumming. I've seen, there was a guy down on 17th Ave years ago. He was, and his buddy, they were like, he was DJing.
At Morgan's, right? Yeah.
Probably. That could very well.
Drum and DJ did it too, like DJ Cov and Brett Jones. They did it big and took it like to Jamaica and stuff like that. But I mean, it was all kind of coming off the Travis Barker DJ AM thing, right? Like they started that.
Oh, and that's just it. I don't even know the prodigy of the whole thing.
Well, actually, did you see that Travis Barker on Joe Rogan?
No,
it's worth watching. It's an interesting. I mean, they just kind of go off and bro for a little bit too, but
it's all good.
No, because like DJ AM passed away, but they both survived a plane crash first, and then DJ AM passed away a year later.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so super shitty, but they started that. Like DJ AM was killing the open format, like playing every genre under the sun, like hip hop, rock, electro, techno, whatever, right? And then Travis Barker be drumming along with him, and that was just like destroying in LA. And then everybody kind of tried to do their own version of that. Yeah. Right on. So, but it's a very interesting thing. I feel like a lot of people are going in that whole DJ plus band thing. Like you look at Mixmaster Mike, and he's done a show with like an orchestra. Oh yeah. So there's people are really pushing the envelope.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I'd have to look that up. I was unaware.
Yeah, Mixmaster Mike's super cool because he's from the Beastie Boys, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah, and he's been doing crazy stuff. Yeah, he's been hanging out with like Qbert and stuff like that. They do random stuff. I get this stuff just from Instagram. It's the only social media that I'll actually keep on my phone, because I'll go through and see DJs that I like to follow. I'll see actual cool media bits about them. So there's some value to it.
I haven't gone down the Instagram hole yet. It's going to be something that I'm definitely going to have to get into if I want to publicize very well. Like that's like one of the things. But I'm kind of trying to take it one step at a time, right? If I can get a bit of a following here, then maybe I'll start expanding into it. I haven't even got into the whole Twitterverse really too.
Twitter's tough. Right? I'm trying to get into that one, but it's like you're sitting there reading tweets and you're like, I could be doing something more productive. So I try to stay away from it, but Instagram's just super fun for me, because it's like those clips I'll do in my stories. You just pull out your phone, and it's like Snapchat. You just take a little photo and upload. It takes 30 seconds, and it's not actually taking any time, but it has a lot of value because people can see what's going on, right?
Well, that's like I'm actually in the process of joining Patreon because like
really?
I'd like to make this a viable thing to potentially make money at eventually.
Absolutely.
Like it's why not do what you love doing?
Oh
right?
yeah.
But anyway, that being said, so like one of the things that I want to do, I got a mount for the ceiling of my studio so that I can show people as I'm mixing for Chaotic Encounters, and I can show them everything that's happening in there. And like when there's like bloopers, like we had a guy walk in the other day on our set while we were doing it, right?
Oh, that's great.
Just,
right?
just like, well, I'll cut this out of the one version, but just stupid little things, right? Or if something funny gets said before or after shooting, kind of thing, right? So
well, it's almost cool. Like even if somebody does walk in, you're just like, oh, somebody's in the podcast. When you're watching that, it's interesting, right? It brings you back in for a second because you're like, oh, what's going on? This is unexpected.
Yeah.
So it's in capturing the viewer. That's the terrible way to say it. It's just the words it's coming to my mind right now.
It's all good.
So yeah, it's like that cool thing that you won't get on TV, right? On TV, you're just so used to sitting there and zoning out and seeing the same fucking TV show for the last 30 years.
The producer's never walking in from off screen.
No, but if that was to happen, you'd be like, what the fuck's going on? This is interesting now.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I hear what you're saying.
It's almost just cool.
No, it definitely does have that added aspect to it. I see what you're saying. It's funny. My cousin mentioned that. He's just like, yeah, you should have just left it in the first place. I wouldn't have even cut. I just let it go. Right. So,
and it's interesting.
Yeah. So that being said, so going back a little bit, you were talking about using digital vinyl. I see you using digital vinyl. Did you learn on vinyl? Was that where you started at or what?
Kind of. I started DJing when I was like 14. When I was listening to trance music, I started playing around with virtual DJ. I had a couple sound cards, so I was just kind of playing around, seeing what it was. And then I took a course at Axe Music actually with John Delirious.
That's funny. I seen a long time ago they had synthesizer courses when I was living in Calgary. Nice. It was it's got to be 14 years ago or something like that. Yeah, that's
probably about when I took that DJ course.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that would have been really cool if I'd known I was going to be into synthesizing courses. I totally would have taken that.
Yeah.
But yeah, John started us out on vinyl. So it was my first time actually touching a turntable. I was always like, that's probably the kind of DJing I wanted to do just because it looked original to me, I guess.
And that tactile aspect of it,
that's
too,
what really got
cool.
me. Yeah. It's like when you feel it and you're like, oh, okay, that's what this is. Yeah. And then, so that kind of got stuck in my head. But I started on little DNS 1000s. Just little
okay.
CD
I'm not
players.
even familiar
just
with
they're old like 6-inch maybe a little bigger Denon players.
Oh,
Put the CD in, just got tempo, pitch bends, and that's about it.
About as simple as it gets.
Yeah, but they were super fun. That's what I was DJing on from like 16 to 18. Just doing little high school house parties here and there and stuff like that.
Oh, wicked. Yeah, so that's where you got your start with just high school parties and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I mean, not even a lot of them, just mostly bedroom, right? That's what I would do. I'd wake up and that's just what I wanted to do. Is learn. It was like learning a new skill then, and that was super interesting.
Yeah, I was into it for a very long time. I only started DJing about 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago, something like that. And like I'd had a little bit of influence. My cousin got turntables for, I think it was grad or maybe his 18th birthday or something like that, right? So I got to play around with them a little bit, but you bump that needle the one time and just, oh, sorry, dude.
Yeah, it feels weird, right?
I don't want to wreck your wreck your stuff here. And needles can be pretty finicky too. Yeah. It don't take much to break one off.
Yeah, they're fucking expensive now too.
And
now
that's the other end of it. Yeah.
Done. That was a tough day.
Like, if you were to talk to somebody that's looking to get into it, what would you say to aspiring DJs? What would be the skill you think is most important for them to really focus on in the beginning?
I'm really terrible for that because I live so in the moment when it comes to DJing now. I'm really in my bubble. It's terrible. So when I look back at try to put myself into my starting headset, there's so much to learn, really. I mean, it's DJing such a strange thing because it really is a simple concept, but there's so much to learn to put it all together. Like, it's the simplest concept, and you're like, this song needs to be the same as this song, and then playing at the same time. But then actually doing that is a totally different
and making it
thing.
Smooth and flawless.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and that, I keep on saying this too, but like we're our own worst critics, you know, because like I've made sets that I'm just like, oh, that was a terrible mix. You're like, you're mixing right now? Like people are like, that's
well, and the layman won't even notice. I noticed that at work because when you're mixing live and you mix up a mix, or you mess up a mix, might not even be that bad, but whatever, chances are the crowd's not going to notice unless it's like a gong show terrible mix.
Yeah.
But when you're doing a recording, it's different because you're going to be playing back that set. So every mix has to be like perfect.
Okay.
So there's almost more leniency to playing live.
Okay, so you're very in the moment, but just if we, sorry, I got a little bit of a line of questioning here that
all
kind of
good,
goes
man.
back to the beginning.
I'm gonna go everywhere, so that's on you to keep me focused.
As far as like when you did learn how to scratch in the first place, do you remember what your first exposure to it was? Like who that person was? Or?
Like before the course I took at Axe, I don't even know, man. That's
tough. I didn't
tough.
realize that he was teaching you to scratch it.
He brought out his the first time it was like 4 nights, four Thursdays over a month or whatever. The first 2 days we played around with vinyl, and he just basically, he's like, here you go touch it, feel it, see what it's like. Here's a scratch record, try to play around with it. And then but like when you're queuing up a record, you're basically scratching it anyway, right? Because you're gonna scratch on the one.
That beat.
So I just started from that and then started doing rhythms with that one beat, and then you get your cutting
crabs
or
cutting
whatever.
on the arm.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm the worst. Like I haven't studied any of it. That's why I need to go and study and teach myself some new rhythms and stuff, because I just like, I can make it sound like this. Yeah. So I'm going to do this. But I'm kind of a one-trick pony when it comes to scratching.
I'm good at reading. Like I've read a lot about techniques, and I've watched a lot of videos, but it's one of those things where, like you say, there's so many different ways a guy can go, and I just thought that with the style of music that I generally listen to and the style of music that I play, that it wasn't the most useful skill for me. Personally, I kind of want to focus a little bit more on finger drumming and learning and learning my synthesizer, my piano aspect of the synthesizer.
The actual, the music theory behind it.
Yeah, so that's been where I've been putting my big chunk of my effort. Besides all of this.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's a ton of work. It's crazy. I've got nothing but respect for this kind of stuff because I've thought about doing stuff like this, but there's no way I could put it together right now. Yeah, so props.
Yeah. Well, and I hope that everybody that's involved in this is going to grow from it. That's the biggest thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, and they definitely will. I mean, it's hard not to. Even it's people overestimate what learning is. I mean, it's so simple. We can just sit down and have a conversation, and as long as you think about it semi-constructively after you've had the conversation, you can learn something from it, right? Yeah. It's not super difficult.
And not even like, yes, I want it to be a learning. Like that is definitely one of the aspects of it. But as far as building the community of this goes, because like, okay, so, I've got 100 followers. You got 100 followers. Yep. We each share this to our 100 followers, and now we've got, that many more.
Whatever.
You could potentially, grow exponentially eventually, right? So, if all of us get exposure this way, then it's going to be nothing.
It's 100% beneficial.
Yeah. So, yeah, you say you were doing like house parties when you were 16, 18 years old. So that's pretty young. That's a good year to be starting. I think I was about 16, 17. Well, like you say, trance and all that was kind of around back then.
It was around, but it wasn't big. It was like the beginning. People didn't really know. Not a lot of people really knew about it or really listened to it, but it was definitely the start of electronic music coming into like the radio, because now it's everywhere, right? You turn on the radio, you're hearing electronic music.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just about every pop song is
exactly. It's totally took over.
Yeah. I remember driving around in my cousin's truck, and he had a nice kicker sound system, and that was I was in heaven immediately.
Yeah, totally.
Like, maybe go smoke a doobie. And
exactly. That was it for me. You're driving around in a buddy's truck, and he'd just be like, "Yo, listen to this song on the stereo." You're like, "Yes."
Yeah, I had two 12-inch Infinity Kappa Perfects at one time in a Chev S10. So like you're driving like this.
It's all speaker. You're literally just driving a speaker.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually had that in a Ford Tempo L before that. It was a $500 car with like a $3,000 stereo system in it. You couldn't even close the doors properly, but I had these little stickers on the back. It's just like, yeah, this car has an alarm. Like, for what?
For what? Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, where was I now?
Man, you're sending me back. I'm remembering high school now.
So you say you do have a few songs out there. Are you testing these out in the club, or are you testing them on friends first, or what's your process?
It depends on what you mean. I mean, the songs that I have on SoundCloud, they're definitely not tested. There's one that the mix is just brutal, but it's also actually that one I did sample. That anybody seen the Popo remix?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I sampled the shit out of that, but it's terrible because just the compression. I just didn't know what I was doing when it comes to mixing and compression and stuff like that. So the ones that are on SoundCloud, they sound good on your laptop, or good enough on your laptop. But I played it out at Worst once, and it was shit. So that's why I haven't released anything in a long time, because I understand how much more I need to learn. There's like a few more things that I need to get better at before I can have a solidly finished project.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's, like I say, we're all our own worst critics, really, our critics.
Yeah. No,
you know what I'm trying to say.
I got you, yeah.
So besides music and sound design, do you have any other like big artistic pursuits? Are you a drawer? Are you
No, not so much anymore. I really started to just focus on music and stuff like that. Recently, I've been trying to get out of that box because I was so focused on it for so long. It took up all my time. But I've gotten to a point now where I can kind of split it up and try to learn other things, and hopefully that will benefit me in the music as well. But I haven't fully figured out. I've been kind of trying to look for a new hobby, something I can do to get my brain. It's also like when you're staring at a computer screen for so long, you don't always want to go play video games after. I need to look at something real for a second, give my eyes a rest, because it just starts to wear on you.
Well, like I say, they had this thing at my son's school where it was who can have the least amount of screen time this month.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
oh man,
I walk into my studio and I literally have 3 screens surrounding me right when I walk in there. I'm like,
we live in it now.
I'm going to be staring at, like, I'm tripling up on my time right now.
Exactly.
So
you're just like taking a bath in blue light rays.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm pretty much guarantee we're going to lose. So you can try, but I guarantee I'm not involved.
Yeah. Shitty. But it's just where we're at now, right? Everything's on a screen. Most of the things that we would want to do, it's not even want to do that we need to do. It's just, it's on a screen now.
Yeah.
You don't even need to go to the grocery store anymore. You just order it on your phone.
Yeah.
Right. It's weird.
Well, that's funny. I got skipped the dishes this morning.
Yeah.
Well, I was busy in the studio, right?
Dude,
so
I do it all
I'm
the
just
time.
like, I could use some Subway or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, it's great though. I mean, especially when you're working in the studio, you're like, sure, I could go stop and cook, and it'll take an hour to cook and tidy everything up. But then you've broken your workflow,
and that
Whereas
is a big part of it.
Subway
it really
shows up, you crush it in 5 minutes, and get back into your studio.
Yeah.
So it's super handy. And I mean, at this point with like inflation, you look at your $15 you spent on Subway, or you go to the grocery store, you're going to spend $15 either way.
Well, but plus gas, or if you're bussing it or whatever the case might be, it's you're paying for it to get there and paying to get back.
Time and money, so you might as well just skip the dishes, and at least you get the time. Right? It's shitty, but it's a good debate now.
Yeah, the quality of the food you're necessarily getting, you're definitely not eating the stuff that's best for you.
Yeah, even Subway.
There are some though, there's definitely. They're starting to become a better diverse environment as far as, getting healthy food to go
quickly,
right?
Yeah.
Because there's a demand for it
there's
now, right?
There's a huge demand for it. People don't want shitty food anymore.
Yeah. Is that something that you think about on
regular? No, I'm trying to eat quite a bit more healthy. Actually, watching Joe Rogan podcast has kind of helped me on that.
You do the keto thing then, or
no? That's the one that I've Recently I've added butter back into my diet because for all those years I believed that whole, you shouldn't eat butter, fats, and saturated fats.
Like you say.
But as soon as I started adding butter, I put butter in my coffee now.
Okay.
Like grass-fed butter in my coffee. And as soon as I started doing that, I noticed my brain just... Like, I don't get the down periods in the day.
Oh,
like, I smoke tons of weed all day. So, like, you get those burnout periods where you're just like, fuck, my brain's not working.
Yeah.
But those are less and less if you eat healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, it's weird. It's a weird balance thing, but it's been crazy helpful for sure.
I've found one of the things that's been killing me lately. Like, I've been away from home for just about a week now doing, like, some of these shows and stuff. And it's been really challenging because I haven't been able to work out. I just got a membership again. Like, I just renewed my membership. So I'm like, I'm going to really stick to it. And I'm going to, put all this effort in. And I was doing really good. And then, but like, you're away from it for a week. And I find, like, I was making sure there was, I'd take my son to school. So that was that way I for sure got to get up in the morning. I'm giving my wife a break from taking my son to school.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's good. It's good to tie yourself to something like that too, right?
And it's good. And it's good because then I can go over his words and stuff with him on the way to school. And it's just a little bonding moment for us.
Yeah, that's important too, right?
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
so rare to find those moments now. Like, it's hard because everybody, even kids, are busy.
Yeah, it really is. But so anyway, I take him to school, and then I was going directly to the gym afterwards, and I'd come home, I'd have a little 15-minute meditation powwow set.
That's perfect.
And, center myself and try to, forget about any of the, pains and everything that I got in me. And you approach the workflow so much. I don't know. I find it helps my mind so much. It's this clarity that comes over me from the whole thing.
That's something I need to get more into, is the meditation. I do it every now and then, but not consistently enough to see good results from it.
And I can't say that I am avid about it. I've been trying to. It's something that I've been trying to work into my schedule. I hate to say it, but if I get tied up with other stuff, it's usually the thing that ends up getting cut out.
Yeah.
But I've heard, like, I read this book. It's the practices of billionaires and successful entrepreneurs or something. It's another one of these ones that Rogan had recommended. Rogan tells me to do anything. I'm basically there.
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, you can trust him at this point. There's a reason that everybody listens to him, because you're like, oh, well, if he's right 90% of the time, it's like, sure, I'll read that book.
It's about it anyway. But one of the main practices, the reason I'm getting to this, one of the main practices is that just about all of these people have some sort of meditation in their day. It's not necessarily like the sit down and have the mantra and everything else, but it's a time to just sit and reflect. And sometimes like it'll even just be while you're on a run or whatever, your mind just goes somewhere else, right? So I think that that's an important part of it. And if I am exercising, I generally do some sort of cardiovascular at the beginning of it. So I find that I do find center there, and the music that I'm listening to when I'm doing it, a lot of the time I find inspiration in that, and I'll write things down. I'll put a note into my phone or whatever that, okay, when I go home, I want to go and think about this theory or think about this concept, or try lining my drums up this way or whatever, right? So yeah.
No, that's good. That's something have trouble with, is because I'm always listening to top 40 music for work. I don't listen to as much music that I actually enjoy too. So I need to kind of force myself to do that, because you start to lose inspiration when you're producing if you don't listen to enough of the stuff that you actually enjoy, which is kind of like, duh, but it's easy to miss.
I've heard that, but I've also heard the opposite of that too. I've actually heard guys say that you should not listen to a lot of the stuff that you normally would, because then it starts... Not that it's bad to be influenced by people.
Yeah.
Like, you definitely want to, like, that's why you are the way you are. But at the same time, you don't want to copy somebody. You don't want to be that same thing. You want to be your own thing, right? Well, I think most of us do anyway, right?
Oh, 100%. I find that a lot. If like you plan to produce that day and you start to listen to a song that you really like before, you're too worried about trying to get something that sounds like that, and then you get down on yourself as you go throughout the day, and then at the end of the day you're just like, fuck it doesn't sound good. So that's, you can run into those problems, but like on the off days, I think it's good to like refresh yourself with something that you're into.
So you'd mentioned that your dad was a guitarist, hey? So is that something that you ever carried through into your life?
No, actually, that's super weird. I've got lots of brothers and sisters. I've got 2 sisters and a brother, and they were all more into the rock music than I was. Okay. And then I've brought my brother, and actually I brought them all to the dark side now. They're all into electronic music now. But no, that was something I was never hugely into. It was like, even just, the traditional bands with guitar, bass, and drums and stuff like that. That was something I never got hugely into. It was those heavy compressed sounds and like huge bass lines. That's what always drew me in.
Yeah.
So just the acoustic instruments, I guess, they're good in places, but a composition of just acoustic instruments never really did it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd really like to hear some of your stuff then, because like I say, like I obviously haven't had much of a very good impression.
I don't put anything on the internet. It's bad. I've got tons of unfinished projects. The problem is I'll probably never finish them because you learn new things, and then you're like, I could go back and fix that, or I could just make a better one.
Yeah. Well, I'm always up for collaboration with people. There's I'll talk to you about some stuff afterwards, actually. Yeah, definitely. But no, this whole learning process, like I've ran into a lot of guys that they have 50, 100 songs sitting in the bank that are just never going to get finished, and it's not that they can't get finished, and it's not that they don't have the potential to be something great necessarily, but I don't know. I think it's almost God, I can't come up with the word. It's indicative of artists to be procrastinators sometimes.
Yeah. I wonder, I think about that a lot because I try to think about myself in that, and I don't know if I'm necessarily procrastinating because there are some good projects on there, and you know what the problem is there's good loops in the projects. I don't necessarily know if they're good projects. There's good parts of the project, but even if you extract that part and put it somewhere else, it still might not be as good, right? So they were good for what they were. If you've learned something from them, which if you did it, you learned something from it. Unless you're really not self-reflecting at all, you've learned something and you've grown from it. But it's almost like it was never going to be a song anyway. You can take what you've learned from that and put it into the next project, and maybe that one will be a song. But
there you go.
It takes years to really learn it all to the point where you can actually finish even a 3.5 minute song, right? There's lots of moving parts to it.
Yeah.
So it's even those old projects, I feel like they're just lessons.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a unique perspective. I like that actually. That makes me feel better about some of the stuff that I've been working on.
Yeah, because I'd love to show you even if it's off air, I'll show you this little bit that I've got because it's great, but the parts surrounding it, they still need so much work, and they're also they need individual ideas because sure, your drop is an individual idea and that could be great, but if you don't have the right build up or the right bridge after it, it's just a 16 bar loop, and that could be great, but if it's still not a song, right? It's a loop.
Yeah. So you've been doing the club DJing for a while. How did you get into club DJing in the first place?
That was pure luck. I mean, pure luck that I got the residency at Worst. I've worked at bars forever, like BAing and stuff like that, just bar back. And then I started DJing. I did a gig at Vicious Circle. I can't even remember how I got it. There was some kid trying to run events or something like that, and he somehow got a connection at this bar and put a show together. So I did a quick set there, and then I was doing a set at Sal's on 17th.
Okay, yeah.
If you're in the city, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's not there anymore. So just little things like that. But then I started working at Worst, and I just mentioned that I was a DJ when I was there for the interview, and they got all interested. And it turned out the DJ that they had wasn't the best at working that crowd.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up moving in probably a year after I started working there.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, that's awesome. I've only done clubs through some of the companies that I've worked with. Like I've never actually,
I tried to avoid all doing that. I never wanted to work for anybody. That was my problem.
Well, and that was kind of half of my thing too. Like I worked with this group, and they were a good group to work with, and it was awesome. I got a lot of experience, and I learned a lot about it. But you know what? They were bringing all their own speakers to every show. They were bringing all their own lights to every show. It was a huge setup. It was a lot of work. There was a lot of liability for all of your equipment and everything else. Yeah. And it was more time dragging stuff around and setting stuff up than it was actually doing the show. And don't get me wrong, I had fun doing the shows. It was great, but it was just too much for benefit I was getting out of it, honestly. I found anyway, right?
No, I agree. I did some stuff like that with a group called Ill Effects.
Okay.
I was DJ'd a few events for them, and they did the whole thing. We had a drummer. We put some shows together, and they were dancers, or they are dancers. They actually still run a.
I think I was looking them up on Facebook here just a little while ago, because I'm trying to, like, I want to even bring people like that onto the show, you know, like dancers and
Eddie would be really good to talk to. Eddie runs that company.
Well,
he'd be really good to have on.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I can
probably put you in contact with him.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. We'll talk about that afterwards then, that's for sure. Yeah, no. So you say, like, okay, so I've talked about the funk thing, and I talk about how you're getting into, like, the bassier stuff. Do you ever find yourself going back to other genres? Like, you ever find like in your own personal life, you say you don't listen to much of the stuff that you
well, it's bad. I definitely do jump around, though, for sure. Some days I'll be feeling one kind of music, sometimes I'll be feeling the other. It's really a mood thing, right? Sometimes you want to get amped up and listen to some dubstep, sometimes you want to hang out, smoke a joint, listen to some house music.
Are you exclusively an electronic guy, though? Do you
pretty much
venture away much?
I mean, I do, but I just don't enjoy it. There's something about that energy that electronic music gives. It's probably just the structure with the builds and the drops and stuff like that. That's just what always got me into music ever since I was super young. I was always the one bringing all the electronic music to my friends in high school. Everybody listened to hip hop or AC/DC or whatever back then, right?
I listened to some of that.
Yeah, well, no, everybody does, right? And I completely understand it. I've always just been the type that, like, oh, if everybody's doing this, I'm gonna go do this. Yeah, I've kind of just always been against the grain kind of guy.
So. Is worst, like, do they just have, you said they got, like, kind of a 3, or like on Wednesdays you're doing the funk thing, so
yeah, I'm just
like,
upstairs.
do they have a nightly? Oh, I haven't even been to Worst, so I'm not even familiar with the clubs. Like,
Worst is the upstairs is kind of fine dining ish, but it's still a German beer hall. So the beer hall's in the basement. So upstairs is a restaurant where they serve all German food and stuff like that. And so I do Wednesdays where they have half price wine. So I've got my gear set up on the bar, super chill, you know, keeping it 100 BPM, maybe 120 max like later. Soul house music, funk stuff, a lot of the stuff you'll see on my SoundCloud. I'll bring out there on Wednesdays. And then Friday, Saturdays, it's in the basement. So you had 220 person capacity.
Oh, wow.
They've got,
has this club been there for a long time?
Yeah, I've been been DJing there for 5 years. It's been there for probably 7 or 8. They got fucked over by the flood. So they had to redo the basement when it got flooded. So I came in after the flood and started working there. So yeah, they've got 10 rows of beer hall tables, like huge picnic tables, probably weigh like 300 pounds each, maybe more, probably 700 pounds. Huge, like wooden tables, and everybody stands up and dances on the benches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's great energy.
This is something I'm definitely going to have to try out.
Yeah, like definitely. Come down on a weekend one of these days. Yeah. It's gotten quite a bit younger, which you know what though? I don't even know if it's gotten younger. I think I'm just old now. It's weird.
I think that's the problem.
It's weird because you start looking at kids that are in your bar and you're like, wait a minute, are you allowed to be in here? But you're just like, oh no, I'm just old now. These are the same people who've been partying since forever. It's just they look like babies now.
So is there much prep that you're doing when you like, you say that you're going onto SoundCloud and you're getting some of these songs that you're sampling and everything else? Are you doing a lot of prep for your DJ shows nowadays, or is it just kind of run of the mill at this point? Like you've been doing it.
Well, you run into that issue, right? I've run into that issue where you end up playing the same songs, same mixes too much. You really don't want to do that, because like people will notice after a while, and it's not good. It's not what a DJ does. You need to be switching it up, but it is tough because you have to play what the crowd likes, and a lot of the time they just want to hear "Yeah" by Usher or "Get Low" by Little John, whatever. They want to hear that stuff. So it's really about trying to switch it up and mix everything in together as seamlessly and as cleanly as possible, and still play some of that top 40 stuff that keeps people interested. Yeah. And also, showing them new music as much as you can nowadays, right? With Spotify, all these young 18 to 20 year olds, they hear it on Spotify first. So they don't give a shit if a DJ's playing a new song. They're like, what is this? I haven't heard this before. Stop playing it. Right? Unless it's like really good. Yeah. They kind of know what they want to hear. So it becomes a little bit more tough to sneak those in, but I mean, it's totally doable. You just have to get a little bit more creative with it.
Yeah. Are you kind of where you want to be right now though? Like, are you happy with where your DJ career's gone?
I'm super lucky. Yeah. I really need to count my blessings. Sometimes I don't as much as I should, because I get to show up. I've got guaranteed work. I can show up, and I mean, I do have to. Like, it's part of my job to keep the place busy, because I'm the entertainment there. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts to a bar, right? There's a lot of things that have to go good to keep your bar busy, but you do have to switch up your set and keep it interesting for people, because you do get regulars, right? You'll get people that come to the bar. That's their bar they want to go to, and they know they can have a good time there, so they'll come back. So there is some pressure for sure.
Have you done anything besides the bar scene? Have you ever done a festival or anything like that?
No, I'm doing a festival with my brother in July. Okay. I can't remember the name of the festival. I'm the worst.
Just a local one, or
it's up in the boonies somewhere north of Edmonton, I guess.
Oh, okay.
My sister's boyfriend has a connection to somebody who runs the event.
Oh, okay.
And they got us a slot there. They got my brother a slot there. My brother's like, come with me, because I'm teaching him how to.
Is it Astral Harvest by chance? Is that the one? I don't know. I'm just curious. I don't know. I don't know a lot north of Edmonton.
No, that kind of rings a bell, but I really have no idea. Yeah, I'm gonna go there and I'll show up and I'll play some music, and that's about it. I don't worry too much about it.
So as far as like downtime and stuff goes though, so like like you say that, you need a break. Sometimes you just need to get away from the music for a while, and that's the best thing for you. What do you find yourself doing besides, like, okay, you play a little video games. You got any like TV shows you're into, any movies you're into, anything like that?
Literally the only thing I've been consuming these days for TV is just the Joe Rogan podcast, because you can gain something out of it, right? Like whenever, even on my downtimes, if I'm not learning something, I'm just getting bored. Yeah. Like with a video game, you can turn your brain off, but after an hour, I'm like, okay, I need to get up and do something. I need some sort of input, something I can think about. Yeah. Otherwise, I just start to get bored. So lately, I've been getting into Audible. I'll let books read to me, because I've noticed. Are
you able to do two things at once though? Can you have like Audible going and working on something else?
Sometimes, not really. I'll leave a podcast on in the background just to have some background noise. But that gets dangerous when you start to try to multitask. Like, you can, but you're only learning in 50% of both things that you're doing. And
you're lucky if you're really gaining anything out of either.
I'd love to be able to do that.
There's people that do. It's a rarity to have that kind of brain.
It's rare to be able to do it effectively. Sure, you can do it, but doing it effectively is tough.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't trying to talk over top.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good.
Kind of saying the same thing though here. So far, has there really been any past that you didn't go down that you kind of wish you would have? Have you ever think back on any moments where somebody might have made you an offer that could have taken you in another direction with your music, or?
Not really. I don't know. I try not to. Like, I don't regret a lot when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you were saying really, you kind of live in the moment.
Yeah, it's really just a lesson. I mean, obviously, like anybody, you get those flashbacks of like shitty things that have happened, but and those feelings all come with it too, right? Like, that's just being a human.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I try not to dwell on it. I mean, you do every now and then, but that, again, it's a lesson, right? There's a reason you're dwelling on it. If it's a recurring thing, the only reason it's coming back is because you haven't learned everything you could have from that moment.
Right. Yeah, I like the way you think, man. You got a very good head on your shoulders. Like,
I try.
You've got some good perspective.
I get depressed as much as the other person, right? Yeah. It's not like I'm immune to it, but I try to just keep, because like Joe Rogan says, we're not coming out of this alive. That's it. It's gonna end one of these days. So
we're just gonna put hashtag Joe Rogan like 6 times at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. That's how you do it now. That's how you get a podcast famous. Is you just type Joe Rogan in there.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, honestly, I don't know a whole lot of other places we can go with this. I kind of covered most of the stuff that I wanted to talk to you about. Like, I think it was a really good interview. I enjoyed talking to you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good.
If you actually start releasing some stuff, or if you want to collaborate on some things, we can definitely have you on again. Is there anybody or anything that you want to say to?
No, not really. I'm the worst at this kind of shit. Like I said,
sorry, put you on the spot.
I sit in my studio and I go to worst. And the gym every once in a while. That's literally my life. So I'm the worst. But no, we'll definitely have to collab and start to put some stuff out there. I really want to pressure myself to put some stuff up there, some stuff out there. So a collab will hopefully do that. Maybe, like, I got to do it because I can't let Corey down.
Well, I definitely appreciate having you on, Chris.
It was a pleasure.
I'm going to put any of the links that he gives me attached to my website at twistedwaxrecords.com. I appreciate you all coming out here and watching the show, and I guess we'll see you again next time. Thanks.
Cheers,
Bye.
guys.